231. Upahana Jataka. As when a pair of shoes, etc. This story the master told in the bamboo grove, about Devadatta. The brethren gathered together in the hall of truth, and began to discuss the matter. Friend, Devadatta having refuted his teacher, and become the rival and adversary of the Tathagata, has come to utter destruction. The master came in, and asked what they were talking about as they sat there. They told him. The master said, Brethren, this is not the first time that Devadatta has refuted his teacher, and become my enemy, and come to utter destruction. The same thing happened before. Then he told him an old world tale. Once upon a time, while Brahmadatta was king of Benares, the bodhisattva was born as the son of an elephant trainer. When he grew up, he was taught all the air of managing the elephant. And there came a young villager from Kasi, and was taught of him. Now when the future Buddhas teach any, they do not give a miserly amount of learning. But according to their own knowledge so teach they, keeping nothing back. So this youth learnt all the branches of knowledge from the bodhisattva, without omission. And when he had learnt, said he to his master, Master, I will go and serve the king. Good, my son, said he. And he went before the king, and told him how that a pupil of his would serve the king. Said the king, Good, let him serve me. Then do you know what fee to give? Says the bodhisattva, a pupil of yours will not receive so much as you. If you receive 100, he shall have 50. If you receive 2, to him shall 1 be given. So the bodhisattva went home, and told all this to his pupil. Master, said the youth, all your knowledge do I know, piece for piece. If I shall have the like payment, I will serve the king. But if not, then I will not serve him. And this the bodhisattva told to the king. Said the king, if the young man could do even as you, if he is able to show skill for skill with you, he shall receive the like. And the bodhisattva told this to the pupil, and the pupil made answer, Very good, I will. Tomorrow, said the king, do you make exhibition of your skill? Good, I will. Let proclamation be made by heat of drum. And the king caused it to be proclaimed, Tomorrow the master and the pupil will make show together of their skill in managing the elephant. Tomorrow let all that wish to see gather together in the courtyard of the palace, and see it. My pupil, thought the teacher to himself, does not know all my resources. So he chose an elephant, and in one night he taught him to do all things awry. He taught him to back when asked go forward, and to go on when told to back. To lie down when asked rise, and to rise when asked lie down. To drop when told to pick up, and to pick up when told to drop. Next day mounting his elephant he came to the palace yard. And his pupil also was there, mounted upon a beautiful elephant. There was a great assembly of people. They both showed all their skill. But the bodhisattva made his elephant reverse orders. Go on, said he, and it backed. Back, and it ran forward. Stand up, and it lay down. Lie, and it stood up. Pick it up, and the creature dropped it. Drop it, and he picked it up. And the crowd cried, Go to, you rascal. Do not raise your voice against your master. You do not know your own measure, and you think you can match yourself against him. And they assailed him with stones and sticks, so that he gave up the ghost then and there. And the bodhisattva came down from his elephant, and approaching the king, addressed him thus, O mighty king. For their own good men get him taught. But there was one to whom his learning brought misery with it, like an ill-made shoe. And he uttered these 2 stanzas. As when a pair of shoes which one has bought for help and comfort cause but misery, scratching the feet till they grow burning hot and making them to ooze discharge in due course. Even so an underbred ignoble man, having learnt all that he can learn from you, by your own teaching proves your very weakness. The low-bred rustic countryman is like the ill-made shoe. The king was delighted, and heaped honors upon the bodhisattva. When this discourse was ended, the master identified this birth as follows. Devadatta was the pupil, and I myself was the teacher. Jataka number 232. Vina Thuna Jataka. Your own idea, etc. This story the master told while staying at Jetavana monastery, about a young lady. She was the only daughter of a rich merchant of Shravasti city. She noticed that in her father's house a great fuss was made over a fine bull, and asked her nurse what it meant. "Who is this, nurse, that is honored so?" The nurse replied that it was a right royal bull. Another day she was looking from an upper story down the street, when lo, she saw a hunchback. Thought she, in the cow tribe, the leader has a hump. I suppose it's the same with men. That must be a right, royal man, and I must go and be his humble follower. So she sent her maid to say that the merchant's daughter wished to join herself to him, and he was to wait for her in a certain spot. She collected her treasures together, and disguising herself, left the mansion and went off with the hunchback. In due course all this became known in the town and among the brotherhood. In the Hall of Truth, brothers discussed its meanings. Friend, there is a merchant's daughter who has eloped with a hunchback. The master came in, and asked what they were all talking about together. They told him. He replied, "This is not the first time, brethren, that she has fallen in love with a hunchback. She did the same before." And he told him an old world tale. Once upon a time, while Brahmadatta was king of Benares, the bodhisattva was born of a rich man's family in a certain market town. When he came of age, he lived as a householder, and was blessed with sons and daughters, and for his son's wife he chose the daughter of a rich citizen of Benares, and fixed the day. Now the girl saw in her home honor and reverence offered to a bull. She asked of her nurse, "What is that?" "A right royal bull," said she. And afterward the girl saw a hunchback going through the street. "That must be a right royal man," thought she. And taking with her the best of her belongings in a bundle, she went off with him. The bodhisattva also, having a mind to fetch the girl home, set out for Benares with a great company. And he travelled by the same road. The pair went along the road all night long. All night long the hunchback was overcome with thirst. And at the sunrise, he was attacked by colic, and great pain came upon him. So he went off the road, dizzy with pain, and fell down, like a broken lute stick, huddled together. The girl too sat down at his feet. The bodhisattva observed her sitting at the hunchback's feet, and recognized her. Approaching, he talked with her, repeating the first stanza. "Your own idea. This foolish man can't move without a guide, this foolish hunchback. It is not suitable that you should be by his side." And hearing his voice, the girl answered by the second stanza. "I thought the crookback king of men, and loved him for his worth, who, like a lute with broken strings, lies huddled on the earth." And when the bodhisattva perceived that she had only followed him in disguise, he caused her to bathe, and adorned her, and took her into his carriage and went to his home. When this discourse was ended, the master identified the birth. The girl is the same in both cases. And the merchant of Benares was I myself. Jataka number 233. Vaikanaka Jataka. The barb is in your back, etc. This story the master told while living in Jetavana monastery, about a backsliding brother. he was brought into the hall of truth, and asked if he were really backsliding. To which he replied yes. When asked why, he replied because of the quality of desire. The master said, "Desire is like two barbed arrows for getting lodgment in the heart. Once there, they kill, as the barbed arrows killed the crocodile." Then he told him an old world tale. Once upon a time, the bodhisattva was king of Benares, and a good king he was. One day he entered his park, and came to the side of a lake. And those who were clever with dance and song began to dance and to sing. The fish and tortoises, eager to hear the sound of song, flocked together and went along beside the king. And the king, seeing a mass of fish as long as a palm trunk, asked his courtiers, "Now why do these fish follow me?" Said the courtiers, "They are coming to offer their services to their lord." The king was pleased at this saying, that they were come to serve him, and ordered rice to be given to them regularly. At the time of feeding, some of the fish came, and some did not. And rice was wasted. They told the king of it. "Henceforth," said the king, "at the time for the giving of rice let a drum be sounded. And at the sound of the drum, when the fish flock together, give the food to them." From then on the feeder caused a drum to sound, and when they flocked together gave rice to the fish. As they were gathered thus, eating the food, came a crocodile and ate some of the fish. The feeder told the king. The king listened. "When the crocodile is eating the fish," said he, "pierce him with a harpoon, and capture him." "Good," the man said. And he went aboard a boat. And so soon as the crocodile was come to eat the fish, he pierced him with a harpoon. It went into his back. Mad with pain, the crocodile went off with the harpoon. Perceiving that he was wounded, the feeder spoke to him by this stanza. "The barb is in your back, go where you may. The beat of drum, calling my fish to feed, brought you, pursuing, greedy, on the way which brought you also to your direst need." When the crocodile got to his own place, he died. To explain this matter, the master, having been perfectly enlightened, spoke the second verse as follows. "So, when the world tempts any man to sin, who knows no law, but his own will and wish, he perishes amid his friends and family, even as the crocodile that ate the fish." When this discourse was ended, the master explained the truths and identified the birth. At the conclusion of the truths, the backsliding brother reached the fruit of the first path. "In those days I was the king of Benares." Jataka number 234. Asitabhu Jataka. Now desire has gone, etc. This story the master told while staying at Jetavana monastery, about a young girl. Tradition tells us that a certain man at Shravasti city, a servant of the master's two chief disciples, had one beautiful and happy daughter. When she grew up, she married into a family as good as her own. The husband, without consulting anybody, used to enjoy himself elsewhere at his own sweet will. She took no notice of his disrespect, but invited the two chief disciples, made him presents, and listened to their preaching, until she reached the fruit of the first path. After this she spent all her time in the enjoyment of the path and the fruit. At last, thinking that as her husband did not want her, there was no need for her to remain in the household, she determined to embrace the religious life. She informed her parents of her plan, carried it out, and became a saint. Her story became known amongst the brotherhood. And one day they were discussing it in the Hall of Truth. Friend, the daughter of such and such a family makes efforts to attain the highest good. Finding that her husband did not care for her, she made rich presents to the chief disciples, listened to their preaching, and gained the fruit of the first path. She took leave of her parents, became a religious, and then a saint. So, friend, the girls searched for the highest good. While they were talking, the master came in and asked what it was all about. They told him. He said, "This is not the first time, brethren, that she seeks the highest. She did so in olden days as well." And he told an old world tale. Once upon a time, when Brahmadatta was king in Benares, the bodhisattva was living as an ascetic, in the Himalaya region. And he had cultivated the faculties and the attainments. Then the king of Benares, observing how magnificent was the pomp of his son Prince Brahmadatta, was filled with suspicion, and banished his son from the realm. The youth with his wife Asitabhu made his way to Himalaya, and took up his dwelling in a hut of leaves, with fish to eat, and all manner of wild fruits. He saw a woodland fairy, and became charmed of her. "Her will I make my wife," said he, and nothing thinking of Asitabhu, he followed after her steps. His wife, seeing that he followed after the fairy, was angry. "The man cares nothing for me," she thought. "What have I to do with him?" So she came to the bodhisattva, and did him reverence. She learnt what she must needs do to be initiated. And gazing at the mystic object, she developed the faculties and the attainments, said bodhisattva farewell, and returning stood at the door of her hut of leaves. Now Brahmadatta followed the fairy, but saw not by what way she went. And resisted his desire, he set his face again for the hut. Asitabhu saw him coming, and rose up in the air. And poised upon a plane in the air of the color of a precious stone, she said to him, "My young lord, it is through you that I have attained this ecstatic bliss." And she uttered the first stanza. "Now desire has gone, thanks to you, and found its ending. Like a tusk, once sawn, none can make it one by mending." So saying, as he looked, she rose up and departed to another place. And when she had gone, he uttered the second stanza, mourning. "Greed that knows no stay, lust, the senses all confusing, steals our good away, even as now my wife I'm losing." And having made his moan in this stanza, he lived alone in the forest, and at his father's death he received the power of governing. After this discourse was ended, the master identified the birth. These two people were then the prince and princess, and I was the hermit.